I have literally spent most of my morning trying to make some numbers make sense, and I'm going to pass them on to you guys and see what you think. We're talking about the Galaxy S25 series of phones. Guys, whenever it was first sort of being rumored, there were lots of rumors going around that made these devices seem like they weren't going to be very exciting and maybe they would not sell particularly well. They looked very, very similar to the S24 line of devices. There weren't big upgrades year over year with regard to the actual specifications. You had your standard yearly upgrades, right? You're getting the newer processor, and the Snapdragon 8 Elite is definitely very good, but nothing really like earth-shatteringly cool. And then to make matters worse, you had rumors about the S25 Ultra's S Pen that were downright negative. The word was Samsung was removing Bluetooth functionality from that pen. That means that you would lose the ability to use the pen as a remote shutter, and you would lose your Air Actions capabilities, where you could sort of use your S Pen like a magic wand to do different actions on your phone. Now, Samsung said they were removing these features because almost no one was using them, but it definitely still drew the ire of the internet tech community. The general consensus was that these phones were just not going to sell well. They were boring. There weren't major upgrades. In fact, there were downgrades with regard to the S Pen. And boy, oh boy, did they lean hard into AI, which is something that a lot of people that are very active in the internet tech community are very vocally against. But the question would be, how would the general broader public actually respond? Well, at the end of February, we got a report from ET News, which is a South Korean publication, that the S25 Ultra had set new sales records, being the fastest Samsung phone ever to 1 million sales in South Korea. In just 21 days, they sold 1 million S25 Ultras. That was faster than the Note 10 did it many years ago. Again, that was the new record holder. So that was definitely a very, very encouraging, surprisingly encouraging sign. Although that was just one phone in one region in a 3-week span. We needed much more information. And then we got more information via a tweet, and I will just pull it up here. This is from, I don't even know how to even begin to say that name, so we're just going to pull up the tweet because this is like equal parts interesting and confusing. You're going to see the numbers here in a minute that just, I can't make them make sense, and I'm hoping that someone in the comments will either confirm for me that yes, these numbers don't make sense, or to explain how they could make sense. So we're not going to go over all this. We're just going to look at the most important things. The Galaxy S25 series achieved first month sales of 4.56 million units. And you can see the breakdown per device highlighted on the screen now. Pre-orders ended on January 25th with the official launch on January the 31st. The Galaxy S24 series recorded first month sales of 1.42 million units. Again, you can see the breakdown by device on the screen. Pre-orders closed on February 3rd. The official launch was on February the 7th. So you would look at that just kind of first blush and you would think, wow, the S25 sold something like 3 times more units in the first month versus the S24. But this person is right to point out that it's not the same amount of days. But then they try to give daily numbers, which I just don't think make sense. Due to the differences in launch months, the number of selling days, a direct comparison is challenging. When converting the first month's sales into a daily average after the pre-order period, the S24 averages 240,000 units per day. The S25 averages 180,000 units per day. So let's just take that first number, 240,000 units per day with the S24 after the pre-order period. So the pre-orders closed on February 3rd. The launch was on the 7th. So let's just take from the 3rd to the end of the month. That will be 25 days. 25 days times 240,000 units per day. Well, that's 6 million units. You just told us that it only sold 1.42 million units. So you can't have something sell more after pre-order than it sold after pre-order and with the pre-orders. Those numbers don't make any sense. And you can do the same thing with the S25 numbers. They don't make sense no matter how you look at it. You could go from the 7th and you could say, well, let's do 240,000 per day times 21 days. Well, it's still 5 million. It's a much, much larger number. So something is wrong here. This tweet is being passed around on several different publications, and their explanation broadly has been that the S25 sold very well in the pre-order period, but then trailed off after. That still doesn't make sense with these numbers. 180,000 units per day will do for the S25 as well. Pre-orders ended on January the 25th. So from the 25th to the 28th of February, that would be 5, 6 will get us there. So that would be 34 days. So 34 days times 180,000 units per day. That's 6 million. That's 2 million more than they're saying the total sales are. So either these numbers are wrong or these numbers are wrong. They both cannot be correct unless I am just dumber than I think I am. And maybe I am, and maybe you can help me figure this out. I even went as far as throwing a screenshot of this into ChatGPT to ask it if the numbers make sense to it, and it did give a slightly different interpretation. So rather than saying first month being the month of February, it just did it as like a month-ish period of time. So it says, assuming the first month ends around February 24th or 25th, roughly 30 days from the pre-orders end, you could take that 180,000 units per day, and it would be in the ballpark. So 4.56 million divided by 30 days is 152,000 units a day. So you would be generally speaking in the right area. For the S24, they do the same math and they're saying, no, that doesn't even remotely add up. The first month period would only be 6 days long to go 240,000 a day, getting you to 1.43 or 1.42 million units. So no matter how you look at this, whether you go first month being the month of February or first month being a 28-ish day span, it just doesn't make sense. What I will say is the fact that ET News was reporting quite happily that the S25 Ultra had set a new sales record, 1 million sales in South Korea alone in 21 days. And then you look at the fact that, yeah, that means it sold faster than the 24 Ultra because we didn't see these sorts of news stories. It beat the Note 10 for this record, not the S24. You look at these numbers, the S24 Ultra in the first month selling 830,000. The S25 Ultra, if it did 1 million in 3 weeks in South Korea, could it have done 2.55 in the rest of the world total? Yeah, I think that actually does make sense. So I think that these numbers actually might be accurate. I think that somehow these numbers here, where they're trying to do a daily average, I don't know where they're getting these numbers from, but I think that these might be erroneous, and I think that these could potentially be accurate. I think that we should at least assume that the S25 Ultra has sold very, very well in that first month, and I think that that is something that's going to be very, very surprising to a lot of people. Like I said, this device was not expected to sell very well because of the reasons I mentioned earlier. Now, when I did my review, I actually reviewed it quite positively, spoke very highly of it. I did talk about how it's a little bit too iterative, right? It's a little bit too, playing it safe. But taken as just what it is, here's the phone, use it, you're going to be happy with it. It is a very, very solid phone. The screen is amazing. That anti-reflective coating is fantastic. You do still have the S Pen doing the things that most people do with the S Pen. The cameras are quite solid. The Snapdragon 8 Elite is very good. Battery life is outstanding. It is a very, very good device. So it's not shocking that it sold well, but based on the expectations going in, maybe it is shocking that it seems like it has sold pretty darn well, even if some of these numbers don't make sense to me. At any rate, guys, please do check the comments down below because I am very paranoid about this. I feel like I'm just dumb and I'm just not understanding what this person is trying to say. So if that is the case and someone has corrected me and figured this out, I will pin a comment, maybe just pin their comment. So check those comments and see if maybe there's an answer to this question down below. Otherwise, I think it's safe to assume The S25 devices are selling better than people probably thought that they were going to. Our intuitions that leaning on AI and not really changing your phone that much might not be something that's reflective of reality when it comes to the broader public. Just something to keep in mind. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.